already recording. We'll get started and let people join as they come along. We also have this on listen again on lots of different channels, which we'll make clear at the end. So I'm Adam, I'm from Media Lounge, and I'm joined today by Matthew Goddard from Decorating Centre Online and Alex Weston from SparkLayer. Thank you very much for joining us. We're here today to share our experience and insights into topics we've been talking about since October, and that's B2B e-commerce. So if you have a look on our blog and on our social channels, you'll see lots of kind of insightful topics and information that you can download, but we'll also make that available as one download towards the end of the presentation as well. You've given up your time, so first and foremost, we want this to be informative. We want to help you save time, help you justify the ongoing investment in your e-commerce stores, give you some key actions and takeaways that you can start using today. And we've also got at the end a little giveaway from our sponsor, which is Hotjar. So we've got some business Hotjar accounts to give away. So stay tuned for that. Who's this for? Well, really, we always want to focus this at e-commerce managers, marketing teams for e-commerce stores, B2B retailers specifically for this quarter who are perhaps either already selling B2B or B2C retailers who are looking to move into the B2B space, business owners or anybody in senior management of an e-commerce store. If you've got any questions throughout, just pop them in the chat. Chris or Carly will help read those out as they come in at an appropriate point, or we'll have a little Q&A towards the end. So we're going to be talking about today B2B buyers and the jobs that they're looking to get done. So really this is about who your audience are, where to invest in the B2B experience. We'll be hearing about the journey from Matt at DCO, along with all the road bumps and everything along the way in moving into being a B2B retailer, whereas B2B and B2C. And being solution orientated, Alex from SparkLayer is going to talk about their B2B solution, SaaS solution for B2B sales channels. We'll also be talking about the future of B2B and where the roadmap for retailers and SaaS solutions leads us. So first of all, what we really want to do is plan the right approach for your audience. And what that means is building with intent for your target audience and knowing their needs. We want to avoid some of the most common pitfalls transitioning into B2B. And what shortcuts can we learn from retailers in similar positions, which is why we've got Matt on the show today. Important user experience and how this sort of differs in a B2B space versus a B2C space. And really, we want to help you get results so you can further invest in your e-commerce stores. So hopefully what you take away today allows you to go and implement something, allows you to gain some growth or traction in a new market, perhaps first steps into B2B, and then grow that, get that revenue, and then reinvest that back in your stores. I don't know if anybody's familiar or seen this before, but it's quite a popular framework called the Jobs to be Done framework. It's something that I do in a workshop with a lot of the new projects that we take on. And it's quite prevalent for B2B because what we want to do is identify who might be the buyer in a B2B landscape and why their needs might be slightly different. So if we have a look at the diagram here, we've got the job executor. So the job executor might be the person that identifies the need for a part to be ordered or something that they need to complete a job. They'll also be the end user of that component or part when it arrives. So think about this. This might be someone like a fitter. So let's say a bathroom fitter. The fitter is the person installing the part or the system on site, and they may be the person ordering from the business. In black, you've got the support team. So if we think about like a plumbing business, we might have an administrator who sits in the office, and they need to order the parts for the up and coming jobs. So they might be told to order a part for a job in the future, or been told to source a part. And then lastly, we would have the business owner. So they might have the financial decision on whether they approve the order or raise the purchase order to make the purchase. But the interesting thing is in a B2B landscape, This could be all one person. So in a smaller business, you might find the fitter, the administrator, and the business owner are all one person. And I'm sure you have some of those, Matt, where they're the decorator, they are everything in the business. And in larger businesses, you might find this is even more spread out. But just in this example, once you've identified the buyer types that you might encounter in the store, then they'll all have slightly different needs. And it's important to build out a persona for each of them. So this is a persona document that I was given by Damien Rees, who we've had on the webinars before from Make Human. And he talks about these things when we're trying to build out a persona for our stores or our customers. So the first one is a trigger. So what's going to make them come to the site? It could be like a promotion, or they might have an inventory need, they're running out of supplies, or they need a part for a job. Next, you would have the task. So what job are they trying to get done? Where they might be registering a warranty, they might need to find a part that's compatible with another piece of equipment, or they might be buying a spare, for example. Next, you would have the pain points. So they might be new to the industry and don't understand the terminology that you use. They might be unsure of your delivery times and need it in a hurry. So there'll be several different pain points that you'll need to address and make sure that you answer throughout the journey. They'll have some specific emotional needs. So they don't want to look bad by ordering the wrong thing. So how can we help them order the right part? Is there like part numbers that are associated with other spares and accessories? They might have a limited time to complete the task, so they're feeling under pressure, and they might need support. So have you made it really easy for them to reach out and contact your support services? We need to think about the tools that they're using. So they might be on site, they might not have Wi-Fi, they might have 3G, so a slow loading site is going to be difficult to use. And you need to think about what other experiences are similar to them or familiar to them. I think Damien spoke about that in another webinar, which is, the mental models that you have. There's a element of technical skill as well. So, how tech savvy are they? You need to play to your audience. You need to think about the language that you use. We spoke before about Beaver Brooks, and they said that they've got pay now, pay later instead of Klarna or debit and credit card, which just seems a bit more familiar or a bit easier to understand. Yes, I'll pay now, or no, I'll pay later. And then you need to think about your needs as a retailer. So what do you as the retailer need to get out of this? Do you want an account sign up? Do you want a newsletter sign up? Would you like a support inquiry? One of the customers we're working with at the moment, they actually convert better on the phone. They convert at something like 12% of their phone calls into sales. So actually, as soon as you see someone struggling on the site, you want to try and signpost to your support services, which might help. We then got this, which is like a framework, very basic. But let's imagine we've got a plumbing fitter. So we've got a plumbing fitter on site. The trigger for them, it could be a range of triggers, but I've just said here, they've got a broken product and they need to order a spare. What task are they trying to do? Well, they might need technical information to identify the right part and then be able to order that part. In terms of a pain point, they might be confused by brand specific terminology. Lots of different brands describe things in different ways. So, they might not fully understand your terminology. So how can we make that easier for them? The technical skills, it's the emotional needs. Is the job limited on time? Have they got to get the part quite quickly? Are they limited on time? They've got another job to get to. They just want to order the part quite quickly on your store. The technical needs or the technical skills. So, you think about this in IT skill levels. They might be amazing when it comes to fitting showers, but how used to using websites and IT systems are they? So you may need to play to the strength of the audience there. And as we said a minute ago, the tools that they use, they're quite likely on a phone. They've got 3G. Perhaps they use Screwfix regularly. So what does Screwfix do to make finding parts? Because they've got a huge catalog. Are they using filters, search, parts? What's really prominent on the page to help them find what they need to complete that order? And you can build these personas out for each of those fitter, administrator, and business owner, because they're all going to have slightly different needs, if that makes sense. What to do with the personas once you've got it? Well, your triggers, if it's a marketing trigger, then the message should match the products, or the message on the sites should match the marketing message. The product should be easy to find. With tasks, think about the navigation structures. Is the search accessible? Do we have good filters on category pages? How easy have we made it to complete those tasks? Is your support information easy to find? If we identify any pain points, we need to look to minimize those. We need to respect their emotional needs and reassure them of delivery times, for example. We don't need to make things unobvious if their tech skill is lower. So, like a burger menu is a really good example. Lots of people understand what those 2 or 3 lines are in the top left of a store. But some people might need the word menu underneath that just to make it more obvious. And then you need to think about other areas in their lives where, we're all retail customers somewhere. So what tools do we use? What business tools do we use? What other sites do we use regularly? We all probably use Netflix and, a shopping site of some description. So how do we use those mental models to build out things that are familiar? Doing things that are unfamiliar, we need to, in the B2B landscape, we need to leave those for people like Apple and stuff like that. In B2B, I think it just needs to be really clear, really concise, and follow a lot of the mental models that other retailers put out there. I did an interview, I think it went out last week, Chris, is that right? With Paul Dabrowski. He's the senior B2B channel manager at BigCommerce. So that was an interview last week. And in his interview, he talked about 2 key areas for investment in the B2B space. So the first one is the product detail page. There may be several different versions of this depending on the product range. So, this is a fairly obvious one. There's not a huge amount of difference with that compared to a B2C product detail page. But then if we look at something that's a little bit more complicated, something that's available in multiple colors, multiple sizes, how can we present this to a B2B buyer in an easier way to use? Well, in this example, they might want to order lots of different sizes of the same product. So we've built out a table here where they can say, well, I have 3 of this size, 2 of that size, and 4 of that size. So it makes it much easier adding multiple products to the cart than having to go through some configurator of adding size and color and then clicking 3 and then add, and then going to another size and color 4 and then add. So you need to think about the sort of quantities in which your products are bought in, and that should help you decide on what the kind of product page configurations are. The next one's bundles. I know, Matt, you've been looking at this extensively. So how about bundles? Are you able to sell the printer and the ink and the paper, for example? So what about this example? We've got like a pick and mix. So this allows the customer to build out their own pack from a range of products. And based on how many products they have in the basket, that might, give them certain discounts or certain qualifications for free shipping and things like that. But yeah, this is a good one if you want to offer a more personal experience and allow people to pick from a range of products that's not just one product page with certain options. So those are considerations for product pages. The second one is the customer account or my account page. So I think just yesterday, Shopify released their SDK to customize the account page. So this will allow B2B retailers to add additional content in the in the My Account page. So good examples of this might be you want to put promotional banners that are specific to B2B customers in there. You might want to pull through a credit limit that's been assigned by an account system. The sales rep that you use for that particular zone or area, you might want to put their contact details to come up in the My Account page. There might be recommended products or sale items that you want to highlight to those specific customers, and you could do that with customer groups. A really common one or a good one to do in the B2B space is like the spares or the consumables that are related to purchases that they have. So let's just say we know the printer that they've got. You might then want to list all of the inks that are compatible with that printer. So from my experience, sort of turning the My Account area into more of a hub will give your customers a more personalized experience. And it also gives them the feeling of being relationship managed. So a lot of B2B trade previously was all about the relationship with the sales rep or with the person over the phone. And they get very sort of handheld all the way through the buying process. So moving them over to a digital only experience might make them feel a bit kind of left on their own. So creating a hub or an area that's made to feel more personalized should feel like they're being kind of digitally managed, with access to support, with access to recommendations and things like that. Will tailor that experience and hopefully make it more of a resource for them, and therefore, your product's positioned better for them to purchase. One thing that I do love is the Domino's pizza tracker. So again, with B2B orders, you could have like a delivery updater in there. So it could say, okay, your order is being picked, your order is being packed, your order has been dispatched, your order is out for delivery. You could extend on, in B2B, sometimes you've got to make the product from a bill of materials. So you could explain the process in which the product goes through to get to that stage. So building out that customer account section could really help with that personalization. So first of all, we've got Matt from DCO. We've worked together for about 8 years and seen the business exploding growth since kind of 2019, just sort of pre-COVID and post-COVID. So Matt, do you mind giving us a little intro into your business?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Adam. Sorry, I decided not to do slides because I thought, again, it was just sort of probably better to talk to everyone, given it's just a bit about our experience and where we've been as an organisation, to kind of briefly explain our business and where we've come from and where we're at now. We started, or when we took over this business, it was a shop in a little village. Previous to that, it was a market stall. So it's kind of like iterated over 30 years to get to being a shop. And we needed to digitize it and take it forward. And when we started to do that, our view was that it would retail was the way to go, because we thought we'd never get decorators out of shops at the time. And this is probably about 8 years ago now. And also they can be, business to business customers are a lot less forgiving potentially than a retail customer. So again, we were pretty nervous about getting it wrong as well, because we were on a learning curve ourselves of how to do things. The business itself now ships between 2,000 and 2,500 orders a week. We employ 22 people, so we're still a very small outfit, but I guess we're at a size where we need to compete with everyone across our market. But we've got to do that on a shoestring. And I guess that's my journey, and kind of the insight I can give predominantly is how we have managed to carve out a really successful business to business part of our business, a lot of business in there, sorry. But doing that without having the facility to invest the same as our competitors. So like, we'll compete with Screwfix, we'll compete with B&Q, we'll compete with Homebase, we'll also compete with every other independent shop around the country and every other independent website. So it kind of spans the whole scale, and that can be quite an intimidating environment, because when you look at what Screwfix are doing of opening a store within an hour of every single person in the UK and then providing same-day delivery via a van for free, you're like, well, how on earth am I ever going to compete with that? But I think our focus has always been on our own strengths and what we can do well for our customers, and I think, talking back to what Adam has just said, it's really about understanding your customer and using that understanding to focus on their priorities, where you can really differentiate what you do and make an impact.
What do you think have been sort of the early challenges and obstacles? Because our audience ranges from, say, £1 million up to £20 million. A lot of advice out there is for either very small startups or for quite big businesses. So, what would you say are some of the obstacles you've faced, in the early days?
Yeah, so I'll start with so there's loads of obstacles. I can talk you through those for sure. I think the thing that I would say helps you overcome the obstacles predominantly is to be realistic and compromise on what you can do. And I think that's one of my key takeaways. But then, so to be realistic, compromise on, it's not going to be perfect. But then where it's not perfect, double down in those areas in terms of where you've got people or ways of solving those problems, do that, right? So we've got, we're awful. If you're a local, on your diagram, if you're in the person where you've got a buyer or you've got a separate team and you need the process and you've got to go through approvals and you need purchase orders and all that stuff, our journey is horrific for those people right now. But the way we solve those problems and overcome those obstacles, for example, is we just throw people at it. So myself, my wife as directors, the other team, we will get onto the phone to those people, we will do the extra work, we will grind it out to make sure that whilst we can't invest in those areas to fix those problems for that customer group, we'll still serve them as best we can in a way that's useful to them. So I think
it's manpower rather than digital to start with. You've put resource behind it in a human aspect.
I think it's about actually where we've prioritized, Adam, is what we've done. So that's how we've opened. So when I'm saying about compromising, it's about really prioritizing. So we've looked at so if you look at decorating, 57% of all decorating is done by decorators. Yeah. Of that, the predominant is your everyday kind of decorator that's kind of in and out houses. There's and there's big contractors, there's marine, there's all other kind of aspects of the market. Those are harder to get into, more competitive and dominated by bigger players. So we focused on the ones that we can get access to, that we best understand. We know their needs, we know how they shop, we know them. So if you think about your personas, we've got right, which persona can we fill out best and best understand, and which persona best maps onto what we've got today that we can iterate from. And then we've made changes from there to serve those customers best we can. And then for the others, we do our best. And that's painful sometimes because you want to.
It's like an 80-20 principle, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah. So that's kind of, I guess, we grind it out. And I think, there's always the saying, work smart, not hard. But when you're not particularly smart, like me, you've got to work hard sometimes, So that's ultimately, on the 20%, there's a reason that's not a quotable phrase. But yeah, on that 20%, I guess I'm saying, we don't write it off. We recognize our weaknesses, and where we get an opportunity, we'll jump on it, and but with the 80%, effectively what we've done is just prioritize and done what was within our gift to do. So I can talk about some examples if that'd be useful. But
yeah, I mean, I think with the 80%, it's the same with your marketing, isn't it? Your marketing, once you've done this persona exercise, your marketing is then focused at attracting those customers and solving the problems for those customers. You're never gonna solve the 100%. But if you can do the 80% really, really well, that's a great business. So with those 80%, what have you put in place that has made your life a lot easier from a digital perspective? I know you said you've thrown manpower at a lot of things, but behind the scenes, what have you done digitally to help you, trade more or save time internally or help those customers? Yeah.
And again, the manpower bit's the 20%, the 80% is digital, and that's been the focus. So we started really basically with looking at that persona and what do those people want and what their core needs, right? So for us, we identified there's three things that we have three things we're really great at as a business, and we focused on them. What do the customer need, and map those together. So the areas that we could make a difference for those customers was price, was delivery, and was additional support. So we could do all of those. Price obviously cost, but the other two we could do without massive investment. And we package that up into what we call a pro account. So there's a login, there's a different set of branding for it, which again, we did on a shoestring. And we've effectively created a community of decorators that are DCO pros. And those guys we have our own account manager type facility for that. We have its own sort of Instagram and socials. And then we have, again, a facility those people can use that separates them from everyone else. So
in the weeds a bit, you've also got, access to different facilities that they need, like customer specific pricing. So you've negotiated prices with some of the people you've worked with over the years. You offer credit terms for certain customers and not other customers. That's all kind of aiding to looking after that 80% digitally.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, I probably missed off the credit terms is probably one that again we do, but again we don't do that for online. So the only way we offer that is through ClearPay and Klarna. But again, we sell that as a benefit to them. So we still, even though it's not the traditional way of doing things through invoice accounting, we still sell that as a benefit of a pro account that you can still, you know, do the job and pay for the materials once you've been paid, you know, so supporting their cash flow. And yeah, we do the customer specific pricing. We use Magento quite heavily to enable us to have groups and tiers of customers that we can provide better benefits to. More recently, we launched a loyalty scheme, and again, pros get extra loyalty perks to normal retail customers. And so we will earn slightly less margin off of those customers, of course, but they're the customers that are coming back 2 or 3 times a week as opposed to 2 or 3 times a year. And that's been it, you know. And we've got a massive roadmap, as yourself and Marcus will know, things that we want to do to improve that service. So, for example, we've got a decorators directory to launch. We've got quoting to launch. We've got new store views to launch for them. We've got loads of extra things around checkout and account management, things that you've mentioned there. And I guess my overall point is those are all great ideas, but it's not prevented us getting started. And actually what we've done is funding those improvements through actually having a service in the first place. And to give you an idea, 2021 to 2022, that grew 400%. 2022 to 2023, it grew 100%. So again, it's the fastest growing part of our business. And even though I know it's not perfect, and there's loads of bits that we can do better, there's enough there, and we've marketed it in a way to make it work for us.
If you'd have waited till it was perfect, you'd probably never got the go in, would you?
Oh, we wouldn't be doing it now. No, absolutely not. And I think that again, that's, I said, circling back to my key takeaway, it's like you've got to compromise. I'm a perfectionist, so it drives me nuts and it keeps me awake at night, and I get frustrated. But things are moving on very quickly now, and I think that's something that I've learned recently as well, is that I've had loads of assumptions about what I can do and what is within my wheelhouse to achieve. And actually, the technology's moved on so quickly recently. Look at Shopify. In the last 6 months, you've gone from you can't really do B2B in a particularly retail friendly way that works, to now you have B2B catalogs that actually remove a lot of those barriers. And you can provide a really smart B2B solution behind a login. That's just one small example of something that's, if you kept with your assumptions that you had earlier in the year, you'd be wrong now. So again, those kind of things help it move on, and it's becoming easier with the things that you want to do. Like quoting, for example, there are now solutions available. There wasn't 2 years ago when we had the idea.
I think when you move into the B2B space, it's about that sort of high impact, low cost that you can implement first, isn't it? You want to move the needle as much as possible. You said you grew 400%, then 100%. Well, you've obviously done the really high impact stuff in that 400% growth, and you're still doing things that move the needle in the 100% growth part. But maybe that's just because you've prioritized the right things first. It sounds like a lot of the things that you're building now and that we know of, like the quoting tool that you're trying to build, that's actually going to enable your customers to create quotes for their customers. So you become more of a resource and more of a hub.
Yeah, 100%. I think our whole philosophy on B2B is about how can we work for our customers, not how can we get more money off of them. So we want to provide a directory so they can sell their services. We want to provide a quoting tool so actually, the nonsense of having to figure out all the materials, scribble it all down, is done for them, so they can spend more time on the road. Again, part of the reason that we do it online is because then they don't have to drive to shops, so they can get stuff delivered to their jobs. It's all about how we serve them. And the other thing I just mentioned on that really briefly, Adam, is that the biggest thing that we've done throughout this that I've probably not referenced is we've been relentless on how we're serving those customers. So if we get a bad review or a bad net promoter score or anything like that, we're on it. The emails go to every person in the business, including us as directors. If it's out of hours, we're talking to that customer out of hours, and we're dealing with it. So when we do get things wrong, because we're learning, we fix it before it becomes a problem for them. And that's another probably key takeaway, is that whilst you're iterating and building it up, having a razor focus on customer and being there for them and going the extra mile is going to give you the space you maybe need to occasionally get it wrong and make mistakes and learn from them. And actually, it's amazing how many customers appreciate that. So, right at the start of this, I said B2B customers are harder to please. And we were really nervous about it, but we've maintained our NPS. So our net promoter score averages 90 over the last 12 months. And we've maintained that even though we've had a massive influx of business customers versus retail, who naturally have more of an affinity with our brand and website. So I think that kind of customer focus bit is really key as well, and has been super important for us.
Well, there's also probably a correlation between that score and your customer lifetime value as well, because those B2B customers you might retain, they order more frequently and they probably will be retained for longer than the retail customers, like you say, who might order one pot of paint once or a couple of times a year.
Yeah, 100%.
So you are in the process of making the decision potentially to move to Shopify. What's attracted you to that platform specifically?
So I think that we've obviously been on Magento for sort of 7 or 8 years, and I think until recently, probably avoided some of the pain points that others have had with the platform. But I think things have moved on so much now with what Shopify is able to achieve, that the main things for the platform is the removal of time spent maybe dealing with issues and problems and conflicts and things like that, and more about getting our teeth into some of the progressive bits that we want to do, and investing more of our time in that. So B2B catalogs, I mentioned, was a big attraction. The ability to do international sales, that's really smartly done now in Shopify. So Shopify Markets gives you a facility to spin up like an international sales relatively quickly. And then there's the ecosystem apps as well. So again, in terms of the tech stack we're looking to move to for how we deal with customers and how we support them, how we market to them, all those things, actually those apps are kind of built around Shopify in many instances. So I think those kind of combinations of reasons really, Adam.
I think one of the things we saw for the first time together was the ability to change content based on the customer. So, a B2B customer can see a different homepage or a different product page or a different layout of any kind of experience-based page than a retail customer can. And that, coupled with what I shared a minute ago, like a different, my account or customer account, that's going to help you almost create 2 stores within one framework.
Yeah, and again, if you look at the investment that would typically have been, we've tried to create that on our current using Storyblock and build a kind of a journey where you can go, I'm either a retailer or I'm a professional. But even that's been not straightforward to deliver. And I think as well as, you've got the change what they see, but you can also then now change the pricing, change what products they see, change how those product prices are structured. There's all those bits in there that again allow you to offer. I guess it's all about personalization, isn't it? Really, it comes down to, and you're providing an experience that feels familiar and is how you want it to look for that customer group, which is going to remove barriers, increase average order value, and increase conversion. So.
Great. Well, thank you. I've got a few more questions that we'll throw between yourself and Alex. It won't let me share my screen. Give me 2 seconds. Can you all see your logo now, Matt? Can you see that?
I can't.
Oh, okay, 2 seconds.
We got it now.
There we go. Thank you. So our next guest is Alex from SparkLayer. They're an agnostic B2B SaaS solution for e-commerce retailers. So Alex, that probably sounds a bit generalized. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about SparkLayer?
Yeah, absolutely. So SparkLayer is about 2 years old as a business, but it's born out of a previous e-commerce platform. So it's a platform that then turned into an agency. The agency migrated all of their customers over to Shopify, and then they carved out the bit of the platform that was more B2B focused and turned it into SparkLayer. So well, I obviously have a very biased opinion, but it's a fantastic solution for people who want to get started with B2B. We've been mainly focused on the Shopify ecosystem for the majority of the 2 years until just recently, where we launched our BigCommerce connector and the ability to integrate with any e-commerce platform. So we've got about 1,000 customers using the platform to date. So it's been pretty rapid growth. And yeah, it's in a hot market with B2B. A lot of customers looking at how they can sell more wholesale.
How did you originally spot the niche? Was it because the platforms were behind on what the retailers wanted?
I think it's quite a unique position, really, because the previous e-commerce platform moved the customers over to Shopify, but a lot of them were already doing B2B. I think they moved to Shopify and they thought, actually, I want to carry on doing all of that B2B stuff I was able to do with the previous platform. And so I think that's where the initial niche was spotted in terms of just enhancing some of the functionality that was available on Shopify at the time. And then since, it's just kind of snowballed from there, really. We've added a lot more functionality and features as has been requested by customers and prospects that we've spoken to over the years. And then that's then snowballed into other platforms and enhancing functionality there as well.
So platforms, you've got a good spread now. Obviously, the platforms themselves are focused a lot on B2B and then sort of nibbling at your heels. What's in your kind of suite of tools that's unique to you or that you feel offer the most value? Because you've got to maintain that gap between you and what the platforms offer and what the retailers want. So hopefully you're that bit more dynamic and nimble to deliver those. Yeah,
absolutely. I think we've definitely stayed ahead of the game with things like sales agent functionality, working alongside sales teams, alongside the kind of more, I'd say, D2C style experience on a B2B website, and combining those two things together. So things like having very similar look and feel to your product pages, but with B2B style widgets, quite simple stuff like that. And then
give us an example of one of those widgets then, Alex. What would you say is a good widget for B2B on there?
Well, I think so. We actually maintain a lot of the theme of the product page, and the PDP actually stays really similar to what it looks like on the B2C side. But if you drop the SparkLayer widgets into that page, and you've got things like minimum order quantities, pack sizing, and then we just released also what we've described as unit of measure, but the ability to add up to like a pallet and the price to change for a pallet, but then also have a different price once you go beyond the pallet, and so that makes it easier for people to not have to split packs in the warehouse, which obviously becomes more important when you're in the B2B space, because you don't really want to have to unpack everything and pack it all up again. So
can the unit of measure change per product?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And that's been one of the big differentiators for us, actually, is the ability to have that specific pack sizing and unit of measure pricing or minimum quantities on a per product basis.
So in one market, you could be unit of measure against metric, and one market you could be unit of measure against imperial.
Yeah, exactly, and also on a cart level as well, having different like minimum order quantities or minimum order values by currency, by amounts in different markets of different customer groups. So you can get really granular about how you can deliver B2B functionality for different groups of customers, which obviously is valuable because not every B2B customer is the same, and you shouldn't treat them as such.
And one thing we spoke about in one of the sort of pre-calls to this is sales reps.
Yeah.
So that's something that you're building a lot of kind of emphasis on at the moment. I've touched on it. I know, Matt, that you've saying you've put a lot of people behind that sort of people management part and having relationships there. So how does your sales rep function work?
So the sales rep function actually, it sits on top of the platform, and it's purely a different login, really, and a role that's assigned to someone as a sales rep. But it basically allows our customers to masquerade as their customers. You have to be a little bit careful when you start navigating the customers and that conversation. But so it allows our customers to masquerade as their customers and put orders through on their behalf. And we've even added functionality for sales administrators to be able to edit quoted prices, add new customers on the fly, that kind of thing. And these have all been born out of requests from customers that we've got for things that they've needed over the years, really. And that's kind of transformed into a roadmap of features that we're looking to add for sales agents, things like commission calculations and different reporting on the back end of sales agents as well, so they can see who their best performing customers are, what products they order the most, that kind of thing as well.
And then that'll all come through as reportable function in your
So and really the whole premise of SparkLayer is to make it super easy for people to be able to reorder products. And so likewise, with the sales agent functionality and that kept in mind, the idea is that they can get a whole view of that customer and help them to reorder products in a really, really speedy way.
Yeah, and Matt, you must have some that are customers that are, repeat ordering the same thing day in, day out, don't you? Like, how do you make that easier for them? Do you sort of put their regular items or recently purchased things somewhere easy to find?
Yeah, I mean, so we use Algolia to kind of help sort of, this might be interesting to you. So again, it's going to serve them products that are more likely. But the honest answer, Adam, is that we don't do a great job of that at the moment. So again, that's kind of, I guess, where SparkLayer or something, could ultimately work for our business, because at the moment what you do is you go onto the website and you'd find it again. Now, the reason that we invest so heavily in Algolia is it's ridiculously quick to search for anything on our site.
Yeah.
It really is the fastest search going. So again, it's a compromise. We've invested in search because it suits the 80% and the 20% suffer from that, but yeah, absolutely, that's a challenge, and we don't have a good solution. But what we do is we're on WhatsApp, we're on the phone, we're on email, we're very contactable. So if customers are doing things regularly, quite often what you'll find is they'll ping us their order on WhatsApp. Yep. Can I get another 10 of these? Yeah, of course you can. No problem.
And then you can masquerade as a customer, put the order through, and that would go on their account and be visible.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've tried to serve that up in a few different ways to make it as easy as possible for customers. So being able to use previous orders to just add all of those items to the cart again is one way. Using functionality that we called shopping list, I think that's pretty generic across B2B platforms, but shopping list functionality where they can save a list of products that they know they're going to order again. But the beauty of the sales rep functionality is that a salesperson can log in and save a shopping list for a customer and say, hey, Mr. Customer, I've saved you this shopping list. These are items that I know you're going to order on a repeat basis. When you go in there, you can just load it up and go straight through to the checkout, and you don't need to navigate the product pages. And I guess that then comes back to just making it as straightforward as possible for people to be able to put orders through.
And one thing you're both, Alex, you're building this at the moment, and Matt, you've got an identifiable need for it, is the quoting tool. How does that work in SparkLayer?
Well, at the minute, we utilize the Shopify and BigCommerce draft order systems to basically create draft orders that people can then go and edit. In future, we're looking at. It's funny actually. Just after this, before my Christmas party, I'm going to look through the quoting roadmap. So I'll probably have a better answer for you in about an hour or so. But yeah, we're definitely looking at how we can build out quoting, what that will mean in terms of what that looks like in terms of the front end, so that people can generate orders, sales reps can generate orders, they can have some kind of price negotiation, product negotiation, add things to into that quote, reserve stock at that point as well, and then be able to put an order through.
And Matt, yours is a slightly different twist in that you want your customers to quote their customers through it, so it's almost got to be branded as if they've created the quote from their business, right?
Yeah, I think there's two steps to it. I think the first is just being able to request a quote for what you want. So add the items to a cart and then say, actually, do you know what, these aren't the prices, or we offer a price match. So it'd be like, actually, can you quote me for these because I've got a better price here? Attach the quote or the information or a screenshot or the link to that. We can very quickly review it, adjust their prices for that account live, and then let them then check out. Interestingly, again, even that's a little bit out of reach for us at the moment with where our budget is. But so what we're actually doing at the moment is we're implementing Gorgeous, and again, we're going to have a macro set up in that so that people can put their price matches through Gorgeous and sort of request a thing or request a quote for that. The problem with that is it goes back to manpower, which is that's then just us being absolutely on it. Because again, if someone's waiting for a quote, or my philosophy is always, if someone's had to talk to you, they're probably already annoyed. And you know, like who goes on a website to go and chat to someone really, unless they're looking for advice and stuff for buying something. So we try to respond to any requests like that within like an hour. But that means that, you know, people have to jump on that very, very rapidly. So automating it would be huge. So yeah, a little bit down the line for us.
Okay. And Alex, like the pricing and buying formats, you know, that can be a matrix of, you know, multiple different ways, you know, tiers, specific pricing, group discounts. Are there any other sort of complexities that you would say for people who are new to B2B to try and simplify, or are there tools available for them to offer that straight out of the gate?
With regards to like pricing specifically?
Yeah, there's lots of different facets to pricing, isn't there? You know, groups, specific prices, tiers. You know, have you seen more success with keeping it simpler, or does your tool allow you to go as in depth as you like?
It does allow you to go in depth. I think what's been interesting is we've spoken to a lot of really B2B specific companies that are coming online for the first time, who've created really customer specific price lists. And, you know, I think we spoke to one who's got like 16,000 customer specific price lists or something. And we got into the question of how different can all of these price lists actually be? There must be some that are just like 0.2% different to each other or something. It was ridiculous. And once they got into it, they actually realized that they could group them together into probably 20 different price lists really, and that actually going down that customer groups would make it much easier for them to be able to manage and things like that. I guess where we do get into complexity, and we've helped a lot of customers to meet this challenge, is where they have different margin for different product groups. And so being able to have price lists served up in different ways, we integrate with a lot of ERP systems at the upper end, where people have different margins applied to different products that they're willing to give away that certain portion of that margin for their B2B customers. So you can't just have a flat discount across all of your product groups, because you don't want to do that for certain products, and you might for others. So that's been an area where we've helped a lot of customers, and probably where it gets the most complex is where you've got those different margins.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that myself. You know, hundreds of different pricing structures for different people, and then actually you look at it and it could all be concatenated into 3 or 4 different price lists, with maybe 1 or 2 customers just getting a special price because they buy so many of that one particular line. Yeah,
exactly.
Do you do anything to help with product line codes? So, for example, my reference was the printer and the ink. So, do you do anything that allows that association within your catalog?
Not currently, but I think that is something that again is being looked at for next year. So I mean, on the product display pages, we would follow most of the rules of or most of the format of the product display pages that are on Shopify. So if you've got a you may also like on your B2C side, you can absolutely have that still on the B2B side with the SparkLayer widgets on there.
Can the logic be different, or?
Yeah, you could definitely do that. It'd probably require a little bit more custom coding, but yeah, absolutely. Where the bit where it's a little bit more complex for us at the moment is doing that within the account section, and at the checkout point. So that's something that we're looking at next year.
Okay, great. So I think we have a couple of key takeaways from you guys. So Matt, I know you were first up. So what's your kind of key takeaway for anybody watching, listening?
Yeah, so I've got 2, Adam, and hopefully people kind of got a sense of them from what I was talking about. But and I think it speaks to what you were talking about as well right at the start, which is prioritize what your customers really need, and where you can differentiate your service. And literally everything else can wait. Just get started and be ready to compromise. Is kind of my kind of the key takeaway, if you like. And the second part is to just, and in touching on some of what Alex has said, because I've learned a bit just listening to him, and also my Shopify reference around B2B catalogs and things like that, is just challenge your assumptions really regularly. You know, if you've done a review and you know done a review of the tech stack that's available, March this year, you probably need to be doing it again now, because it will have moved on with investment that's going on, not just in Shopify, but obviously with big commerce and other platforms as well. There's a lot happening, and there's as a big sort of race for space, isn't there, at the moment with some of these technology companies. So those would be my two takeaways: challenge your assumptions, and then prioritize what your customers really need, and where you can differentiate your service.
Yeah, I think we've fallen down on that, as well, in that platforms move so quickly. What is not available today might be available tomorrow. So I think that's sound. The compromise as well. I think a lot of people come into building a B2B experience with really specific ideas, and what you've said about serving that 80%, the specificness, if that's a word, is only there to help serve that extra 20%, and that's what's going to cost extra money, resources, delay you launching. So yeah, just being prepared to compromise, I think, is great as well. So thank you for those. Alex.
It's pretty funny, because I think generally my advice is almost the exact same as what Matt said, and which I guess is comforting to know. But absolutely, customer experience is key. One of our key principles at SparkLayer actually is simplify, and I think it's probably a good thing to keep in mind when you're going down the route of any kind of B2B project, is just keep it simple to begin with, because there is so much complexity that you could add with launching a B2B system, and actually it doesn't have to be hard. You can keep it simple, keep the customer experience at the forefront, and I think that sort of serves you and gets you a long way. And absolutely reiterate Matt's point that the customers that we've seen do really, really well when they've come onto SparkLayer or whatever B2B platform they've gone onto, actually, is the ones that don't stand still. So they get something simple in place to begin with. They listen, get feedback from the customers, and then iterate on top of that constantly. So they're adding more features, functions, giving more feedback. And we've built features off the back of requests from customers just based on that principle. So just continuously looking at that platform and your workflows and your B2B system offering, and figuring out how you can best meet your end customers' goals.
I think the simplicity is, again, really good advice, purely because sometimes you can build out features thinking it's what your audience want. You spend money doing it, you spend time doing it, and you launch it and nobody uses it.
Yeah.
And then you find out what they really want, and then you've got to build that instead. So yeah, if you started simpler in the first place, you would have learned, and built the right thing from the start. So
and absolutely getting the customer feedback in that process, as you would say to all of your customers, I imagine, Adam, is absolutely key. Like, start simple, get feedback, and wait for the things where they say, if only it would do X. That's the thing that you've got to go and do.
Great. Me last. I'm going to just share the customer persona chart or graph. We'll get Chris to put this as a PDF and link it in any of the listen again notes and on our website. So doing the personas, identifying these different things, the trigger, the task, pain points, emotional needs, technical skills, and the tools that they use, all of those are going to help you offer a better experience. So knowing your audience is key to building a store that meets their needs. All too often, I think companies gush about their products and their services in a kind of, look at us, look at what we do. Really, if you turn the lens on the customer and think about what they want out of the interaction with your store, you'll probably present yourself slightly different. I always remember, there's the guy driving down in the street in the Ferrari thinks everybody's looking at him in the Ferrari and how good he is in the Ferrari, when actually everybody's thinking about how good they would look in the Ferrari. Nothing to do with the guy driving it. So if you look at the customer, think about what they want to get out of their interaction with you would be a better thing to get. So, okay, I don't know if it's Chris or Carly. Anything on the Q&A?
Don't know if Chris is still here. Nothing yet.
Still here. Yeah,
if
anybody has any questions, and now is the time.
Cool. We'll come back to that in a minute. Give us a shout if there's any on there, Chris. And then Hotjar, who've been kind enough to give us some business trial accounts. If you're not using Hotjar, really good tool for heat maps, session replay. You can look at scroll depth. It gives you some really cool statistics on frustration and U-turn scores. You've got like areas of engagement and things like that. So you can see different devices, you can watch session replays, and learn a lot about how your audience are experiencing your service or your store. So we've got 5 of those to give away. Chris will put a link in the chat now and also in any listen again. And we've also got a white paper, which Chris will share in the chat as well. This is called Retail Mind Games, a guide to effective e-commerce discounts. So I think we put it out just before Black Friday, just different ways of creating discounts and strategies around those, how you display those on the site. So a really good kind of takeaway PDF there, which you can download for discount and pricing strategies. So we've been talking about this topic, B2B e-commerce, since October for the last 3 months. We'll make all of these available as one download, which Chris will put in the chat now. You can also get this information from our blog on our website. Share it with your teams. Hopefully it provides some insights. Thank you very much for Matt and Alex, who've joined us today, DCO and SparkLayer. How best can they get in touch with you, Matt and Alex?
Yeah, so sorry for myself. It would just be if email if there's anything I can help with at all, I'm more than happy to. So that's just
okay.
There you go. Yeah, feel free to get in touch if there's anything that would be useful. I've always found it hard as a business owner to find people in similar boats to myself, which is the reason that I've done this today. Great.
Alex, you're the same?
Yeah. Similar email, or you can visit our website, sparklayer.io. There's a ton of information on there. It's quite a useful resource section as well, with some blogs on B2B and getting started. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you'll get a link to this as a listen again. So go on our normal social channels. We'll host a copy on our website. So Chris will pop a link out to that to anybody that signed up for the webinar, and also our outreach team. Links on our website for the white paper and the download, so some good information in there. And then next month we start, in 2024, we start our campaign around a new topic. We're not going to say what it is, just because we've had some topics that other agencies have done around the same time. So we'll keep this one a surprise, but I'm sure it'll be of great interest. So thank you very much, everyone that's joined us today. And thanks to the Media Lounge team behind the scenes, Chris, John, Carly, for making this all happen. And we will see you hopefully next month.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.